This is an interesting story. Imagine you've been running your business for just 7.5 years and you already clock up 5 million of revenue. You've gone out and raised 4.25 million of revenue. You go on Dragon's Den, they say yes. You turn down their offer. It's a fascinating story with a lot of history lineage. My guest today is James Cadbury, and he's built this brand called Love Cocoa. He is a descendant of the Cadbury's family and now making his own chocolate. Let's find out how he's done it. I mean, there's so many achievements here. How old are you, first of all?
How old am I? 38 now. So
you're exactly the same age as me.
Great age.
Coming from a family of lineage in one of the most famous confectionery brands in the world, and you actually know the Cadbury's family inspired the Hershey family.
Yeah.
I've done a big research into Hershey recently, and they just literally copied Cadbury's.
Exactly, yeah.
It's a really fascinating family. The whole way that the Cadbury family looked after their staff and were so passionate about creating the villages of Bourneville in England. Did you grow up knowing some of the original Cadbury family from that still owned it before it was sold to the Americans?
So it's my great-great-grandfather who set it up. And, you know, he was a Quaker. He was a very religious man. He didn't believe in creating wealth for the family. So he, you know, gave his shares, and he gave the whole families were given to different trusts and charities and whatever else. So, you know, the Cadbury family didn't benefit. They didn't put it in he didn't put it in a trust where everybody could be, you know, super wealthy. So one thing he believed in was, you know, people, children, his descendants should go out and work and, you know, be normal people. He thought that wealth ruins people. So, you know, no one, you know, has benefited superly from the Cadbury family. There's some people have been better than others, sort of thing. But it's, you know, I think it's a great legacy, and, you know, what they did was amazing, really.
Did you ever work for Cadbury's?
No, never worked for Cadbury's. I grew up.
Really, only the name.
Yeah. So I grew up in Birmingham, probably quite 5 miles from the Cadbury factory in Bourneville, and used to go past it every day actually to school, and sort of just got really hooked on it. And we had lots of school parties there and stuff like that, and school trips. And yeah, I just thought it was super interesting how you set up a chocolate company 200 years ago, actually now.
So where are you making this chocolate now? And this is a premium chocolate. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, we're a luxury chocolate. We get everything made in the UK. We work with our manufacturing partners. We come up with the recipes in-house, and then we work with specialists who can just make the product for us rather than us making every little part of it. So that's our model.
Why do you not make it yourself?
Well, the number of reasons. One, when I was starting out, there's a lot of money you have to put into making a factory. When is the right time to do that as well, I think is the biggest one. If you do that too early, you're going to be left with, you know, a factory which is not big enough. If you do it, you know, have a too big one, then you're at risk of spending too much money on it, you know, with too many people and the lease and whatever else. So it can be quite an expensive thing to do. So at the moment we're at about 5 million revenue. The idea is when we get to 10 million revenue, then that's the time potentially to look at it. But, you know, we've looked at big companies, you know, who still don't manufacture. Green and Blacks, for example, they never manufactured bars themselves. Hotel Chocolat didn't manufacture until they were, I think, a 10 million revenue as well. So just try and find out the right time for us to do that. And, you know, it's an important step for us
to test the market before you actually.
Exactly. And I think when we have looked into it, it is more efficient to use some of the manufacturers at the moment. So there's pros and cons. I'd love to have their own factory now, but
you want it?
I'd love to. I think you'd be able to be more creative, more control.
How much does it cost to build a chocolate factory?
It really can depend from 1 million to 10 million. It's how big you want to go, and at the moment, adding that and a lot more people and the complexity with the people and the process and the manufacturing.
Do you know how to do it?
No, but I'll work it out. We've spoken to consultants who know how to do it, but a lot of it, we'll have to do myself, sort of thing. So it's, do I have the brain capacity to do that, as well as look after 2 brands, which we do at the moment, which are both growing really quickly.
So how did you get your first customer? Like, you obviously, right, we're going to make chocolate. It's going to be better than. What is the USP of it?
So we've got 2 brands. So the first brand we launched was Love Cocoa. What we wanted to do with that one was create classic British flavors. When we started, we wanted to really have the best quality ingredients and work with people like Malden Sea Salt, which is around
Yeah, yeah,
we're
literally around
literally
here, yeah.
here. So working with people like that, when the mint we got was from a small farm in Hampshire. So it was all about bringing in small local suppliers and creating something which is super delicious, which was very giftable. So
And do you think consumers really care about that?
I think so. I mean, if you look at Hotel Chocolate, they've just sold their business for 500 million.
Yeah, yeah.
There is people like Bloom and Wild who do premium letterbox, flowers, and those were two massive inspirations for me when I set up the business. It was the original model was through the letterbox. This was 7 years ago when the likes of Grays, that was their primary, business model is the snacks Grays, as well as Bloom and Wild had just got on the scene in terms of the flowers. So we wanted to create a chocolate version of that where we made it super easy for people to gift chocolate and could
So
send
it
it.
started out as a gifting product rather than to be sold in John Lewis, for example.
Exactly, 100%. We wanted to go down that route. At the time, Facebook ads were quite cheap as well.
Oh, right. And is that how you literally just like set up a Shopify site?
Before Shopify, actually, I wish I put my money in Shopify at the time because
Yeah.
they were just coming about us. Heard of them, but instead I spent I think, 20 grand on
Building your own
building
thing.
my own, some developer out in the Middle East, not in the Middle East, but that way. And it was painful. It took 9 months to do. Whereas our second brand, I built myself with Shopify in probably a
Unbelievable,
day.
isn't it? Yeah, it's so
it cost
good.
50 quid or something. So
Yeah.
it's
Well, Party Pieces, one of our brands, just runs off Shopify, and I literally love the app that you can look at, and you can. Oh, it's just such an
ping
amazing.
when you get a sale.
Yeah,
it's quite
yeah,
addictive.
yeah, it's really good. So used Facebook ads in effect to build a gifting range for chocolate, and that's how you got your first customers.
Yeah, it was that a bit of PR as well. We, obviously went out to PR and, loved the people like the Cadbury story. I think it's if you've got something that you can use, why not use it, sort of thing. So we did some PR for the Telegraph, I think, and got a story in there. And from that, we probably got our first couple of 100 orders. After that, then it was.
Let's just stop there because I think that's so. You're 30 years old at this point, really, when you
Yeah.
started this. What was you doing pre that? What was the beginning to? I'm going to start. Was you doing another business before?
No. So I was working in finance. So I got a job in finance, worked my way up to a trading role. I thought it was going to be the pinnacle. I thought it was going to be such an amazing job. I thought it'd be super interesting, but it really wasn't. What I was doing was
at that point. Then, so you're 30 years old. I'm guessing you was earning some good money.
yeah.
What sort of money was you earning doing that?
It's around 100.
So he's earning £100,000, 30 years old. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of money 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Even more than it is now. And you think, I'm just going to kick that 6-figure salary in and start selling chocolate.
Yeah. I thought, there's a great opportunity to create a legacy, whereas moving money around the world, trying to pinch a few basis points here and there, which trading is.
Was that scary, though, to just kick that?
You can always go back to it. I was for, and my parents weren't particularly impressed at the time. It was,
what did they say?
They're like, "Are you sure?" They were like, "Are you sure? You've got a really good stable job here. People in the company like you. You're well appreciated, etc., etc." But I just wasn't passionate about it. I was going into work. On Sunday, I was having fears and nightmares and whatever else. It was I just wasn't enjoying it. And also, I don't think I was ever going to go to the sort of top of it. I was an okay at my job. I was good, but I was not a 9 out of 10, 10 out, maybe not a 10 out of 10 sort of thing. But I was probably a 7.5, and I'd have had a nice, comfortable career, but I just wasn't passionate about it. And my French boss, he'd come in, he'd already read the FT, he'd be so passionate, and I just didn't have that passion. And he was also, we rubbed each other up a little bit.
So you left and then just started, you started doing it as a side hustle first of all to make sure that you don't start from zero?
I wrote a business plan whilst I was at work.
Did you have any sales coming in?
No.
So you left zero sales with just an idea and a passion.
Yeah. I wasn't happy in my job, I guess, and they gave me 3 months gardening leave, so it allowed me to go traveling for a month, and I sort of really decided if I wanted to do this. I had all the plans in place, as it were. Oh, well, I would say plans, but a lot of the basic plans in place. But then when I came back, I was like, right, I need to do this. And then it took me another 6 months to get going. So in
So,
hindsight,
so you was earning no money after earning quite a good salary
yeah.
for a chunk of time.
Yeah, no, so I didn't have a salary for the first 2 years. So it was very much,
So how did you afford to live?
I just saved up some money, I was working for 6, 7 years and, there's enough time to save money if you want to. Obviously, if you want to go on flash holidays to Dubai or whatever else, then you can do. But I've never been that way inclined. And I decided that actually I could still go traveling to nice places, but I can do it on a budget and then put money into a pot, which I always knew I wanted to set up a business. And I used that pot of money to set up a Virgin startup loan at the time as well. And that gave me enough capital.
Did they help give you advice as well, or not really?
A little bit, actually. They're not bad. I think we got £10,000 loan and, they actually gave me quite a lot of advice, I guess. And they got a mentor, which didn't really work out. But
Did you get any PR from it?
Yeah, we did actually. We went on the Virginpreneur Awards, which was like a foodpreneur type thing. I don't think they do it anymore, but we got to the final of that and managed to meet Levi Roots and did lots of radio and TV with him, which was great. So yeah, I definitely recommend anything like that is worth trying. I mean, same with Dragon's Den. It's
Did
stuff
you
like
meet Richard Branson?
that. I think I met him at one event, but very quickly. He's quite a busy man.
Yeah, understandable. All right, so 2 years in, you're not paying yourself any money. I suppose turning some money though.
Yeah.
The business is. Can you remember what you turned in your first year?
Not a lot. I think it's about 50 grand. So it was.
So was you there these moments? My God, I've come from this big job, or was you like, no, this is the dream, keep going?
There was a lot of hairy moments. It's like, what am I doing? It's like, especially we had this issue with we moved warehouses, and this new warehouse didn't have the right procedures and warehousing controls, whatever. And we had some bugs that ended up in the chocolate. So it was an absolute disaster.
So you just to get rid of all your stuff.
To get rid of all the stock and pretty much start again. That was really heart wrenching. And it's like, what am I doing here? And that was the closest I've been to giving up. I was like, this is ridiculous. What am I wasting my life here?
So in that first year, you're using Facebook ads to get customers for gifting. So you're getting like what, £5-6 orders?
I think we would do the average basket was probably 18 quid at the time, so it was slightly bigger. Problem was we only had we had 6 bars and it would fit it in a nice letterbox pack, but we didn't have anything else. So once people bought once or twice, it's like, well, what am I going to buy again? And that's when it was like, right, we need to expand the range, go outside this letterbox idea and try and get retailers on board.
See, because look, let's talk about anyone that loves chocolate, and British people love chocolate, including myself. I mean, I know my chocolate, and when I go into a place and I see chocolate, I buy my regular bars that I know I like.
Yeah.
Have you not got any of that? Have you got regular people that are ordering the same stuff? Or is it just one-off sales and you need to keep getting lots and lots more new people?
Our return rate is pretty good now. I think it's harder to get people into the online at the moment is, cost of acquisition and Facebook ads is, just the per million or per thousand, how it's judged on, it's gone up, I think 40% in the last year. So it is more expensive, but it works really well at key seasons for us, but it's not our biggest revenue. We've got 2 brands. The other one is just slightly bigger now, and that's more of a grocery brand called Hip Chocolate. But on the Live Coca side, online is probably 30% of the business, so it's not our biggest market.
What are you spending on Google or Facebook and PPC ads a month now?
It really depends what season it is. So Valentine's, Easter, Christmas, we'll spend decent money, but it's the rest of the year is pretty much nothing.
What's decent money?
It's not a huge amount, to be honest. So it's
I'm spending £20,000 a month on Google PPC just for Party Pieces, which is our online party shop, and we're struggling to get that to turn into 3 times. And it's usually a return on ad spend. People want to get 5 times their spend, and I can't see how it's possible.
We're not like that. So we spend similar sort of money at the key seasons, and if it works, we can up the budget. And actually, Amazon works a bit better in terms of the advertising on that platform.
I know how you make money on Amazon. We've got Amazon Prime status. One year we've done £250,000 worth of sales on Amazon. I just feel like I'm building a business for Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
We would turn £250,000 and probably keep £20,000 for ourselves.
Yeah, we're the same.
And out of that £20,000, we've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
So,
the advertising, especially every time you log onto Amazon, there's more and more sponsored products, which is people have to bid on. It's crazy. So Yeah, no, it's tough to make online work. I don't know many companies who are, hitting a 3 ROAS. I mean, if you're getting 1.5 and sort of
But it's okay
breaking
if
even, and it's
people are buying from you again and again,
exactly,
then it all makes sense, doesn't it? But if they're only buying from you once or twice,
yeah,
it's not fun, is it? If it's not, it's cheap if you get a customer that's going to buy from you every month there afterwards. So really the answer then is really what I believe in, and I think the business that I have similar to you is our Rossi Ice Cream business. Is a 100-year-old ice cream business. We've got our own shops. We direct supply to our own businesses. We do supply co-op as the Morrisons and supermarkets. I think it's very difficult to be a food entrepreneur. Where do you see that?
yeah, no, it's tough. I mean, chocolate is probably the toughest as well out of everything. I mean, you come up.
Try ice cream, my love. Yeah. Well, you don't need freezers, do you? If you want to deliver stuff, you can put it in the post. I need to have freezer vans, freezer transport. The freezers always break.
Yeah.
You haven't got any of that. It's an ambient product, isn't it?
Chocolate melts, so throughout the summer, and then
Yeah.
exports and stuff like that can be quite tough. But everybody wants to be a chocolatier, so you get people who are small chocolatiers at home who have Instagram and whatever else, and they're trying to take a little bit of the market. When then you've got people like Hotel Chocolat, Godiva, brands who've been around for hundreds of years, who've got way bigger budgets. And it's
Godiva went bust though, didn't they? A few years ago in London, didn't they? They closed all their shops and only got a few left.
I think that was just a re-strategizing type thing. They're a massive billion-dollar company, so they didn't go bust. But I think they just closed their stores. It wasn't
About shops for you. Thought about shops?
Yeah, no. For Love Cocoa, it's what we want to do in the future. It's just trying to find the right place where the rent is not crazy. And
where would be the right place? What's your idea?
We've looked around London a lot, lots of different locations there. Portobello Road is probably our area we've been looking at the most. I think it's great for tourists. It's great
for tourists.
Yeah, there's tourists there, as well as there are lots of affluent areas. Notting Hill, for example, just around the corner. There's no chocolate shops in that area.
Covent Garden?
There's about 6 chocolate companies there already, and they're
Godiva's there, aren't they?
It's Godiva. There's 3 other companies who've been there for a while, and they've been going as companies for hundreds of years, who way bigger than us, and it'd just be hard to compete. And they're the rent in Covent Garden is ridiculous. You do not want to get involved in that.
Yeah, I've looked. It's funny. You obviously experienced, because the operational overhead is where I think about stuff. What would you say is the revenue a chocolate shop could do a day? If you
to make it work in London, you need to be doing probably 600,000 plus. So it's not the easiest. But there are shops out
£1,300 a day in sales, and you probably need £700 a day just to pay for the overhead to have a decent shop in London.
Exactly. So
you do 600 grand and you make 50 grand out of the shop. Like, God, is this?
I think you break even in London. I think I've spoken to business owners who've got stores, and it's more breaking even and then using that store to add credibility to your company. And as a result,
do you think that does happen?
No, definitely. I've got a friend who's got a business. I think they've got 10 different stores in London. Sorry, not just in London, but across the country. And they use that as a trial. It's a food business as well. They trial that, and then from that they get people to buy online. So they reckon that by doing that they do quite a lot of customers. So great, but it's like also want to make a return on it. So it's making sure you don't lose money. That's the scary thing, because if you suddenly hit £400,000, then you've got pretty serious issues.
Because there's someone I always think, like Next, the retailer, who are definitely a success story of the UK in terms of retail, and online, have an amazing online business. I do think the online business is built off the back of them having physical retail stores. People just trust it. I buy stuff on John Lewis online, although John Lewis is not doing great at the moment, but I probably buy from them online because I know they've had physical locations, and I agree with that. Well, so much already. So you now built the business up to 5 million of revenue, and it's loss making. Why?
So we weren't loss making until we decided to raise some money. We've got a new brand called Hip Chocolate.
I don't understand that. So you wasn't loss making until you decided to raise some money.
Yeah, so we want to grow quicker. So we've got two brands: Love Cocoa, which was a profitable business. It's premium gifting. The margins is good on that side of the business. And then we launched a vegan chocolate brand called Hip, which is going into grocery. And to go into grocery, you need to spend money. You're up
to buy
against
shelf space and stuff.
exactly. And then it's the marketing aspect, bringing in the right people into your team as
Let's
well.
talk about that because we like I said, we're in some of the supermarkets. They ask us. They say, "Oh, if you want to put more Rossi in, give us some marketing money to put it in." I just won't do it. But you're prepared to do that to get in everywhere.
Yeah, I mean it's that, and it's the promo plans. It's there's so many different things, and if you in the day if you don't do it, you're not going to hit your rate of sale. You'll be out. There is so many different chocolate companies out there, and they're all vying for your space. You're up against Lindt, Green and Blacks, huge companies who want to increase the space there, and they'll be prepared to put more money in. And if you don't put that money in, then especially with a young brand, why are people going to buy you?
Can you give me a scenario you're going through at the moment with pound, shilling, and pence? I'd be fascinated to know.
In how sort of what respect?
So, say if ABC supermarket,
Yeah.
Sainsbury's, Tesco's, Morrison's, they go, "Yeah, you want to put some space, you want to take some of our shelf space.
Yeah.
What are you going to give us to be on that shelf before you've actually sold anything?"
Yeah,
So,
so they have a rate card for all sorts of things. So you could look at they're called barkers. So if you want to put your brand on the sort of in between the shelf, then that is and £10,000. If you want to have something called thins, that's probably £20,000 for a month. So there's things like that, and then it's supporting all the
for a
promos.
month.
Yeah, yeah. So then it's
So
also
you could be giving one of the big four supermarkets £30,000 for them to put signage on their own shelves in their own stores,
yeah.
and then when do they pay you for the product?
When do they pay us for the
Is
product?
it
So
sale or return in the early stages?
no. So it's never been that. But we've got quite good terms with some of our retailers. So some of them can be 60 days, but some of them can be 30 days sort of thing. So that can be a problem. But no, it's tougher than if you want to do online stuff. So if you want to include coupons, so you want to target or retarget your customers you've had before, then that's could be anything from £10,000 to £15,000. And you've got to do it, otherwise you won't hit your rate of sale. That is your target as a business. And if you don't do that, then there'll be another business who'll claim they can hit that target, and you'll be out there. And then if you're out the door, then you don't really have much of a business sort of thing. So it's very hard to make it work. And if you don't have the capital to put into it,
And what sort of gross profit would you make on a supermarket sale for you?
um,
Or
it,
do you have an aim?
it's really hard to say, because you look like you've got a fairly good margin. So you might start at a 40% margin, but after everything you're supporting, all the promos, everything like that, you can be very, very low down sort of thing. So especially for a young business like ours, it does all the money you're putting in to try and grow that brand and get it off the ground means you might go from something which on paper looks like a fairly good margin at 40% to a 10%. So
Gross profit.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
before you make a net profit.
exactly, yeah.
So you could sell £1 million worth of stuff to one supermarket, make 100,000 gross profit,
Yeah,
which means that
especially when you're starting.
God, it's
as you
it's
go,
painful,
and
isn't it?
yeah, it's hard, and that's why we raise money. If we didn't have that money, we wouldn't be still here, sort of thing. So, and we want to go down the grocery path. So
Why do you want to go down the grocery path? Why do you see that as the way forward? Because Hotel Chocolate just opened their own shops, didn't they, for so long?
with
Thornton's did the same, didn't they?
yeah, so with the Love Cocoa brand is not in supermarkets. That's the sort of premium gifting one. The idea is we don't want to go into supermarkets for that, because it's very cutthroat, and also the pricing, we're too expensive. We use the best quality ingredients, and it just wouldn't work in a grocery store. Whereas Hip Chocolate is our vegan oat milk chocolate brand. It's £2.65 to £3 RRP. You won't make the money in the shop. There's no way on earth you can do it. So you have to get the volume, and the only way you're going to get volume is grocery. So
Why the strategy of having two chocolate brands? Why don't you just stick with Love Cocoa and build the premium brand rather than building two?
it's a good question. We saw a massive opportunity within vegan chocolate. It was the fastest growing segment. No one was putting oat milk into chocolate, so we decided that we've got a great opportunity to be the leader of that. There's great opportunity to really scale the business really quickly if you go into grocery. There's so many examples of companies in green and blacks. They sold for a lot of money back in the day, as well as some of the American ones who been going for only a couple of years and suddenly got huge grocery listings, and it just makes your business very valuable. So it was something we want to reach as many customers as possible, as quick as possible, and grocery is the way to do that, right? But it is, one, it's bloody hard to get in, and two, it's hard to.
Have you got in with any of them?
So we're in Sainsbury's at the moment, Ocado. We're about launching another quite big one soon, which I can't say much about at the moment.
So in Sainsbury's, like their first order when it come in, was it like, oh my God, that's a big order, or is it slowly catchy monkey?
No, they buy. I think when we started, I think we were in 400 stores to start with, and they took 3 SKUs. I think they took 2 cases of each product. So I can't remember the exact order, what it was in terms of revenue, but that's the sort of how much they buy in. So they've made
that's a big order for you.
Yeah, it wasn't the biggest order we ever had, but it was a really good start, sort of thing. And
so in that 5 million of revenue you've got so far, grocery is not really in that yet. That's what you've done up to now, isn't it?
So grocery, we started 18 months ago. So we got an investment about 18 months ago as well. So it was pretty much, once we got that listing, we got that investment on board, and grocery will be our biggest channel this year.
Of your 5 million, how much is grocery, would you say?
It's around 20% at the moment.
So you're still doing 4 million of lots of independent sales then?
Yeah, so for the Love Cocoa brand, so just in terms of revenue, so roughly speaking, it's probably 50-50 in terms of Love Cocoa versus Hip Chocolate. So half of Hip Chocolate will be basically grocery, will be half of that. Then the other mix will be working with distributors, exports, lots of different things like that. Hamper companies. There's so many different angles with chocolate, which makes it a lot to go after, really.
And so because I'm fascinated about it, because I think that's where SMEs that are watching this can really, that's impressive. Yeah, because I think if we just supply essentials, that seems so far out of depth at the moment where I am at my business level. But if you've got 2.5 million or 3 million or 4 million of revenue from independents and direct to consumer, which I'm guessing some of that is in the post still, how do you go and get those customers? What's your strategy, and do you still want to grow that as well?
So in terms of the more grocery,
well, no, then taking grocery out of it, so that let's say that 5 million of turnover, 1 million's grocery, 4 million is for independents, hamper companies, and direct to consumer. Yeah. Do you still want to grow that part of the business?
Yeah, definitely. That's our main strategy for our Love Cocoa brand. And the way you get those customers is trade shows. So you have to.
How many trade shows a year do you do?
I think last year we did 8. So it's a lot. There's probably half those in the UK, half of them outside the UK. So you have to go out there, and they're not cheap. So
how much do you budget to do a trade show with hotels? The lot, the actual bloody stand.
Yeah. So the biggest one we go to is one in Germany called ISM, which is scarily big. It's probably 6 football fields, and it's just full of chocolate and confectionery, all sorts of random stuff there. But anyway, we there's lots of great stuff as well, obviously. But we do that one every year, and that costs us in total £22,000. That's
with travel, hotels.
Yeah. So it's probably about £5,000 on travel, hotels, getting the stock there, and then the rest is in terms of the stand and sort of building the stand. But people spend a lot more money. I mean, you should see some of the.
Oh, I know. Some people spend £1 million on I went to an ice cream show just 4 weeks ago, and some of the stands were £1 million spend because I asked.
Yeah.
And but we also do trade shows for some of our businesses, and we have definitely got the best customers and the best leads from doing those. And I think it's interesting that you do that. So you're doing 8 a year. You're on there, and do you get orders on the stands, or is it usually after the fact?
It depends which one we do. So yeah, it can really, really vary. Most of them you don't really do any business on the stand.
Yeah, and I wanted you to say that for viewers and listeners to this. Like, when people are there and they might get disheartened, 6 months later the best call comes in. And I wondered if you've had that as well.
Yeah, no, we do trade shows for 3 things probably. I'd say, it's one, meet new customers. A lot of our current customers go to them, so it's really re-engaging them. So that's super, super important part of it. And then one trade show we do, we get orders on the stand. It's a bit smaller. They're all sort of independents and it's maybe 500 quid, £2,000. We get those sort of orders. Whereas some of the bigger trade shows, you want the bigger contracts with the big grocery chains or the big, UK distributors. So there are a few different shows.
Do you ever speak at the trade shows? Do you ever keynote at them?
I think I've done one panel type thing, but no, I've not really looked into that. Or
That will change the game for you.
yeah, you think? Yeah,
I don't go to any trade shows unless I can keynote at them.
yeah,
What happens is you get a 10x return on your investment then.
yeah.
Because you're in all the brochures, people come to you and then you come see me on my stand if you want to. It's just so powerful.
It's a good chat, actually. I've not really
There you
thought
go.
that. I'll definitely note that one.
So 5 million revenue. Now we've raised 4.25 million. I want to come on to turning down Dragon's Den in a minute, but 4.25 million. Talk me through the process of why you wanted to raise that money over, say, take on bank debt, and what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, great question. So originally, we'd have loved to take on bank debt. During COVID, there was quite a few generous loans out there, which we obviously took.
Move it up.
Yeah, we took quite a lot on that. But then it was getting to the stage where we needed more money as we grow. The bigger you grow, the more money you need. It's just the cash flow. So we are buying in inventory, and typically we are, for example, we have cocoa contracts, and we will buy that in, and our terms are not as good as. We won't get paid until maybe 6 days after we made a finished product. So that is still really challenging, and it can be challenging for small businesses. And we try and improve that, absolutely, but it is bloody tough.
So it's over trading in effect.
Exactly.
You're growing, didn't have enough cash.
So we're going from, I think we were at 1 to say 3 million quid in 2 years. Then we just had to have more stock, and if we don't have the stock, then we can't fulfill. And the problem was we weren't fulfilling some of the orders on time. Then we're losing the customer's patience, and they would move to other people. So it's like, right, we need to get some money into the business.
It is a playbook that I absolutely, I've been there.
And banks won't lend you the money, so we're a brand we don't.
Did you ask banks?
We spoke. Yeah, we what we did with our bank, HSBC, and we also spoke to other banks. But invoice factoring is the easiest way to go for like a food brand who don't have their own assets. But you're not going to get another bank loan unless you give out some serious PGs.
Which you wasn't prepared to personally guarantee it?
No.
Why? Interesting. Because I'm probably personally guaranteed 20 million quid at the moment.
I think at the time we weren't sure if the business was going to be successful. It's it's so hard to predict the future, and we could have probably got a couple of $100,000 in bank loans. And is it really worth it, or can I go big and get a load of money and really try and make this a massive company? And that's the route we went ultimately. So
okay, so how do you get the 4.25? Where do you even start to do that?
So we got approached by quite a few VCs, but they weren't quite right for us. We sort of went through sort of a vetting, and for various reasons we decided not to. So I decided to approach a few entrepreneurs who are investors and who've done quite well, and it was just outreach. So making sure you send emails, and a lot of people I think send a lot of generic emails and don't do their research, whereas I picked probably 10 people to approach when those came in, sort of thing. So it's really making an effort and really researching them and saying why you think they're a good investment. I think it was really, really important, and a little bit of luck as well.
So has this come from one source then, the 4.25 million?
Yeah, exactly. So
they're a shareholder, sit on the board.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
have you managed to get a mentor out of this as well as cash?
Yeah, exactly. So we've got the one individual. He has a right-hand man, as it were, who's great, who does a lot of his sort of mentoring and sort of making sure that we're on track and whatever else. So it's really great. They're super supportive.
Can we shout them out, or do you want to keep this to yourself?
This guy called Richard. You probably can find out if people Google, but he's a great guy. He was an entrepreneur himself, and he invested in Betfair and did quite well out of that. And he's been super successful in what he does. Is amazing investor. So he was.
Has he given you like some golden nuggets apart from the cash? So you're, oh my god, that's so good. Let's put that to work.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've only met him a couple of times, but he's a strategy guy. He loves strategy and how you can win against other brands, and just how you try and dominate your sector. So it might be a niche to start with, but if you can dominate that, and then that niche is growing, then he's massively into sort of the compound effect. So all about, trying to be the biggest within that niche and then, growing into a bigger niche. So yeah, he's a super guy, and learned a lot from him the few times I met him.
So with this 4.25 million, did it just come in the bank in one day? Like, here's 4.25 million.
Yeah, it was
What
crazy.
was that feeling like?
It was good. It was I thought it was a stitch up because it was I didn't think it was a stitch up, but obviously I didn't think it was a stitch up. But you always hear these horror stories that stuff falls through and whatever else, and they were amazing. They just kept the process super simple, and when it came in, it was like brilliant. We can get to work and we can really try and grow this business. So
do you feel a responsibility more than you would with a bank loan to make sure you turn this into something?
Yeah, no, absolutely. No,
That's an individual's money, isn't it?
Yeah, someone who's trusted me with a hell of a lot of money, right? So it's, I definitely want to make this a big success for him. I want to make sure he gets a great return, and if he gets a great return, then I will as well. So
are you majority or minority now?
we're basically joint. So we've got similar sort of shareholdings, pretty much identical. So
Yeah. I think how I would feel with this, I would feel such a burden of responsibility to that, but more than a bank loan. It's funny, isn't it? Like how you'd, I think we're all different, but
he's a very successful investor. He's done a lot of things, and he backs his judgment. So he's taken a punt on us, and we're going to make sure it's successful. So I'd love to make it a success, and I'm sure we will make it a success.
What's that? Has he put conditions on you to make sure you hit certain things?
No, he's a pretty straightforward guy.
Because with the VC, I think you'd know about it.
Oh, exactly. So we looked at VC, and we turned down a few just because of some of the T's and C's, or whatever you want to call it, the small print where they, some of them are pretty sharky sort of thing. So that was something we didn't want to go down unless we were bigger and it was really on our terms sort of thing. So, that wasn't the right, opportunity for us. So we always wanted angel investors who this person is.
How much do you think you'll lose this year?
Be about £1 million, which is...
So you lose £1 million this year. And when do you think obviously you're hoping for a J curve? So we're losing money, then boom, we're making money. When do you predict that will happen?
In 2 years' time, we should be back to profit. So, being a grocery brand, you need to have all the grocery stores. You can't just have one and spend all the money on marketing. So it's making sure we get those. We should be on track for a second big one this year, and then we're speaking to the other 2-3 big ones. So once we get those on board, then we'll be in a lot better position, and those losses will just come down. The losses are coming from staff. So when you're investing, one of the reasons we want that money was to bring in some really great people. And
what are those people that you brought in? What are they doing?
We brought in like a senior management team, and to be honest, the people we brought in to start with didn't work, so we had to let them go. But now we've learned from that, and we were quite decisive of that. And we've brought in a really strong team now. So we've brought in a head of marketing, a head of operations, and an FD who's been there and done it, which is super important.
Out of all that, is the FD the person that you think has brought you personally the most amount of value?
So we've only just started working with a person in the last couple of weeks, but the knowledge and everything else who's already brought to the team within 2 weeks is just heads and shoulders above people we've worked with before, and advice we've got in terms of that. So yeah, I think having someone who knows the figures, and again, I know my figures. I'm quite comfortable with that, but working with supermarkets, there's so many different things that you don't realize or don't think of, and exactly, and it's a massive learning curve. So we've probably made a lot of mistakes over the last year, but now we've got a really strong team.
And you're all in an office together?
Yeah. So we're based in Highbury, so near the Arsenal Stadium, actually.
Mm. What's your thoughts on working from home?
We work from home 2 days a week. I'd like it to be probably once a week, if, in all honesty. I think that when we're in the office as a team, we do work better. So something I'm thinking about. Don't know how well it'll go down with staff if they're listening.
I agree with that. I do not believe that working from home is effective. My little analogy for this is people that say, no, I need to work from home. My analogy is this: if you've got children, do you want your children learning at home or in a classroom, and everyone wants them to be in a classroom because they know that the culture and the learnings and they just can't.
Yeah,
I just
I'm in the office every day. There's a few people who come in every day, but
why don't you just tell them to be in the office?
it's something I'm thinking about.
Yeah,
I think going 5 days,
just
you
give them
would.
a bar of chocolate if they come in.
I think you would lose staff. I think staff after Brexit is a struggle. We live in London and work in companies based in London, and there's definitely less people around, and it's hard to retain and yeah, attract talent. And if you don't have that, I think you would really struggle. At
Mm.
least one day a week. I think outside London, where there's possibly less jobs, then it might be slightly easier. But if people are not happy in your company in London, there's so many other opportunities. They'll go like that. So it's tricky, but I do think that people do work better in the office, and I think 2 days is okay, but I think one day would probably be the best. And I think that
It's
one
funny,
day is
I
is
mean, I
good.
do believe you should manage people on output over input. Like if they're good at their job and they want to get a project over the line, all my senior people can come and go as they please. I don't manage them. I don't know where they are, what they do, or how they do it, frankly. But if the job isn't done, then I'll pull them up. But they're doing a great job. I'm going, you crack on, do it the way you want to do it. Um, it's interesting. One of the quick questions I just wanted to ask. I know we asked about how do you get your first customer, like when you first started this 5 years ago. How did you get your first big wholesale customer? Someone that was spending, more than £1,000 with you. Can you cast your memory back to how that happened?
I think it was Fortnum and Masons actually.
Oh, shut
So
up,
yeah, so
Mike. Let's put that mic drop there.
so I was quite lucky that I knew someone who's working there, and I just sort of begged him to go and give some chocolate to the
Did you?
buyer.
Is that a skill
Uh,
set of yours? Are you very good at knocking on doors? I mean, to raise 4.25 million through an email, you just that's I think is a big skill of entrepreneurs, and you obviously have that.
I wouldn't say it's my greatest strengths. I don't think, but I'm not afraid to do it. Our office next door is Jamie Oliver, and so he has quite a few. I've not met him yet, but he does have quite a few famous people sort of knock up. For example, Joe Wicks the other day, the body coach guy. I know he
Did you give him some chocolate?
Yeah, I ran out. I was like, "You take this sort of thing," and he didn't post it. Unfortunately, hopefully he's listening to this and we'll post it. But he's a really nice guy, quite down to earth.
You just literally knew he was out there, ran down the stairs and said, "Try this, baby."
I was in getting some lunch in Pret, and I was like, I recognise this guy. I could see some guy doing something to the phone, and I told my team, I was like, I think he's coming your way. Can someone run out and get some chocolate? And they didn't do it. So they tried to find him, they couldn't find him. Then I came back and I could see him, so I ran up and got some and just introduced myself. And same as there's another influencer who was like a vegan influencer who's quite big on TikTok and Instagram, 1 million followers. And again, I recognised him, and luckily I had a chocolate bar on me in the street and just was like, "Can you take this?"
On that though, I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, do you have a strategy to market with influencers and give them chocolate and pay them to talk about you?
Yeah, we do bits and bobs of that. It's tough though. Is who is the flavour of the month in terms of some of the influencers, and some of them are very, very expensive. I mean, we've been quoted ridiculous amounts of money, and it's like we're never going to make a return on it. So we do quite a lot of gifting where we give stuff away for free to sort of micro influencers. That's a better way of us using our
What do
money.
you class as a micro influencer?
That's a good question. I have to ask my marketing team, but I think anybody from say 10,000 followers to maybe 100,000. Those are some
They're
micro.
the ones that have got the better, more loyal audience, haven't they?
Exactly, I think so. Then the bigger ones, yeah, it depends if they've been working with other people. And we've worked with like chefs before, but every day I'm on Instagram, there seems to be another sort of chefy person and who's producing great content. So it's like, who should you work with, and who's going to have the audience which resonates most with your brand as well. So, and a lot of the things is, are the influencers good at selling for you? So that's just something I read about or listened to recently. It was like, you might have the best influencer, but if they're not very good at selling your product, then it's just not going to work for you, sort of thing. So I found that really fascinating.
I wonder if you like just give away £10,000 worth of chocolate a month to influencers, like, and we do that in our business, for Marsh Farm, and we do give away products and days out to get people to come to us, and I think it's an important thing to do. It's interesting that I think listening to you, and I think how business owners think, we're happy to give Sainsbury's or so much like 35 grand a month for a bloody little banner and all this sort of stuff, but why don't we give £10,000 worth of product away to influencers? I don't know the answer. I just it's a good.
We do that. So as part of our strategy at the moment is we work with influencers, and we don't give away £10,000, but it's probably
I mean, of products, not actually of cash.
yeah. So two things here. There's that where you give influencers and they'll sort of post it, and it's the cost of sending it. We worked with an agency who organised all this for us as well, which was not cheap. The other thing is sampling. So a big thing for chocolate, if you back your product with our hip chocolate as well, it's oat milk based rather than dairy. So people wouldn't have tasted that before, and people don't have a lot of money at the moment.
So you're going into like farm shops and supermarkets giving away chocolate for people to try.
Basically, but not like that. But yeah, we'd give out chocolate to. The better way to do it is you can go to train stations, the tube stations, and sort of hand out stuff in rush hour. That's a quick and easy way to do it and get rid of a lot of stock. Or you can work with some of the
just give away bars.
Yeah.
So how do you? Because suppose if you give an influencer something, they make a story about it. You see that with their link turn into sales or not. But if you just give away chocolate at a train station, how do you know if that's turning into future sales?
You don't. So not our size. When you're in every supermarket, and if you had, say, a £100,000, £200,000 sampling session, you hopefully see it. But it's speaking to other brands, businesses who've been there, done it, and grown quickly. And one of the key things with a food brand is the amount of samples you give out. There's other ways to do it as well and have a bit more tracking. So we work with some of the big sort of recipe boxes or any subscriptions. So we'll put our chocolate in there, and then you can put in normally a flyer with that, and have a QR code with a discount and stuff like that. So you can see
some like what Gusto and those sorts of
exactly
Fresh or Hello Fresh, is it?
I think we're working with Gusto this week, and then I think we've done Hello Fresh before and things like that. So again,
you're just giving them chocolate.
Yeah, and you have to pay generally to be in these boxes as well. So it's giving away the product plus paying per box, so it can be quite expensive. But
this is fascinating. So
that's why it's hard to make money when you're starting out in a grocery, unless you've got all the grocery.
What does that cost you to do something like that, a campaign like that?
It really ranges. Can be depends how big they are. Could be 10,000, could be 30,000.
So you're about to write a check at some point this year to get into Gusto or HelloFresh, whatever they are, and you're happy to write a check for £30,000 for people to have free chocolate, and hopefully they will then come to your website and then buy it again.
Yeah, if they're the right demographic, and it's really important they are right demographic. So if it's a Gusto or HelloFresh or whoever it might be, sort of thing, it's really important that they are the sort of people who are going to be interested in your product. So you can get quite a lot of data from these subscription boxes in terms of who their customer is, and if it matches our profile, then it's something we'll definitely try. And yeah, again, one of the reasons we've
So just thinking about that, but if you're prepared to write them the check for £30,000, you've also got to get the product to them and give them the product.
That's probably all in cost, but it again depends who it is. It really does vary. It could be £1,000. It could be some boxes.
I'm telling you,
some boxes don't charge you, sort of thing. But it's a key part. If you've got a food brand,
I get it.
It's tough. That's again why we raise money.
I think the reason I'm like, I want people that are watching this to go, oh my God, because I think, I'll just make some chocolate and sell it. It's far from the case, isn't it? That's the easy bit, isn't it? Getting the customers is the...
Yeah, you're on shelf for in a supermarket, and it's another 50 brands, and most of them are a hell of a lot bigger than you and been around for a hell of a lot longer. So it's like, how are you going to get those customers into it? So sampling is a huge part of it.
I'm just thinking, obviously, I'm sure you know that MrBeast brought out his own chocolate range, didn't he? He's done... I mean, that's everywhere, isn't it? Very quickly.
In the US, I think UK I think he's in Asda, but he's just rebranded actually. So we'll just see how that goes. He's rebranded. It's a lot more sort of childish, I think.
Have you tried it?
Yes, I have. It wasn't my favorite, but
I didn't think it was very good either.
He's changed the recipe now, and I also bought it from someone off eBay just to try it. So it probably didn't travel very well, but he's redone that, and the branding does appeal probably to younger people a lot better. So I guess he's a rival, but not a super rival. But it's super interesting how I think that's the future of food and drink and other consumer goods. So CPG, I think it's going to be just influencers who'll be sitting.
What did you say? CPG?
Yeah, consumer products. Is that CPG? I've got the right word. I might have got it wrong there. But
consumer product.
I can't remember I've put me on the spot now. I completely forgot but consumer products. I think that
built via people that've got audiences. I mean, we're seeing every celebrity's got their own whiskey brand now, haven't they? I think Ryan Reynolds just sold a whiskey brand and sold that out for, or was it Jay-Z? One of them just.
Ryan Reynolds, I think he had Aviation, which
Yeah,
he
that was
sold
it, yeah.
for $1 billion, I think. Then there's George Clooney's got one. All these celebrities are starting to get more and more. You just look at the Kardashians;
I
they've
think even
got.
Rod Stewart's just brought out a whiskey.
Oh, really? That makes sense. He's
Yeah.
sort of Scottish, and
Yeah.
he loves it probably. But no, I think that is the future. I think if I was starting up again now, I think I know I probably wouldn't bother because it's so bloody hard, and I think it's even harder now than 7 years ago because.
It's interesting. So you wouldn't do this again if you started now, would you?
I think naivety was probably a really
big strength.
a really big strength because I started another business. Don't get me wrong. I just think chocolate.
This is hard.
Is super competitive.
Well, I think let's just put being a food entrepreneur or starting a food business. It's incredibly hard, and I've got it. I'm in it, and I think it is to get scalability. I think if you can build 100 million revenue food business, then you're in an amazing place. But they're all owned by like 20 people control the food market, aren't they?
Yeah,
20 companies.
Yeah, probably 4 would probably own most of them. So like Unilever and Mondelez and who are Kraft. Yeah. But no, it's super exciting because there's it's great opportunity to scale quite quickly. But no, it's super tough, and you need to have clear USPs with our hip chocolate. It's we do have a clear USP there, and we've got really great aspirations for that brand and how we can scale it in grocery. But it is bloody expensive, and you need to have the scale.
No, I take my hat off to. I mean, and the branding and the products, it looks beautiful. Did you design all this?
So we have in-house designers. So we do it with the in-house designers, but yes, a lot of it is.
Where'd you get all your packaging from?
All over. So it depends what the product is, and
if we can this in the UK.
Yeah, if we can get the packaging from UK, we prefer to. We are a sustainable company. The sourcing is super important to us. We try and avoid plastic where we can as well. So yeah, it's a really big part of that. But majority of the stuff will be UK.
James, I've got some questions to ask you now. I want to make sure your product's on shot because I want people to see it. Are you satisfied with your achievements?
Not really, no. I think until we get a sale or we get back to profitability and have a comfortable living where I guess I can have a really, really strong team and I could go away for a month and sort of not worry about it. I think that's when I would feel like I'm successful. So at the moment,
do you have anxiety over your business? Do you ever feel anxious?
Yeah, no, I think so. I think pretty much every business owner that I know, and we've got a great community of people I know, and I think everybody suffers, especially in what we've been through in the last 4 years, and COVID, and now cost of living, inflation. Cocoa pricing is doubled, so our commodity pricing's doubled. So yeah, I think a lot of people out there who are looking super successful on LinkedIn, and they probably are, having anxious nights, and I'm definitely one of those people. But it's how you control it.
Does it affect your home life, like with your wife?
She's got her own business as well, so we're sort of agony aunts. Is that the right word? But yeah, we do a lot of
Does she make more money than you?
She's probably more profitable, but she's been going for less time. But she's got a brand called Kind Bag who do reusable, sustainable bags, and she's done amazing. She's never raised money, bootstrapped it, and they're profitable, and they're over $1 million revenue this year. So, done super.
She's a female entrepreneur.
Yeah,
you need to get her applied to come on my podcast.
Yeah, definitely should be. She's
just Nigel, you sort that out because we'd like to get female successful entrepreneurs on. In your opinion, what makes an entrepreneur successful? Shall I give you my traits?
Yeah.
Well, you go first, actually, and then I'll tell you what I call the 8 traits of great entrepreneurs.
Well, I think you've got to be resilient. Probably the biggest one.
That's one of mine.
I think you're literally going to have so many issues that are going to happen. Problem solver. You've got to be a big problem solver. You've got to be innovative in terms of what you're doing. Yeah. I think those are probably the 3 biggest. And then someone who can lead, and hiring, I think, is such a skill. And we did so well to start with. And then we had a few issues with wrong people. And I think if you get the right people in your business, you got such a bigger chance of working. So
there's 2 little things that I always say is if you can't change the people, change the people. Because I think sometimes you do have to, coach people, and you can change people, but not often. The other thing that I always believe is you have to kiss a few frogs to find your prince.
Yeah, definitely.
And anyone that's watching this, like listening to us having a chin wag, there's 70 million people that live in the UK. Not everyone's a right knob. There are good people out
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And I think it's important that you don't tar everyone with the same brush.
I think on that note, I think it would super help if anybody told me before, but hire people who've been in the same industry who may be a couple of years ahead of you. So,
Oh, absolutely. Employ people better than you.
We went for people from big companies who it's just a big, completely different mindset. A company who's doing 5 million versus one who's a billion, who's going to have a HR department, IT team, all this sort of stuff. It's like, doesn't exist in our business, and you need to be a problem solver and be able to fix things and use your own, initiative. And we're not going to give big training budgets or courses. It's learning on the job. It's using initiative and stuff like that. So
you're up front with all that now.
Yeah, no, super. Yeah, no, we've got quite a little bit with it, and it's a learning curve, and it's, as you say, sort of kissing frogs, and it's trying to find the right people at the right time, and they'll make the difference.
I've got a little thing for you that you might be able to take away with you. I teach this in my seminars. What makes a good person is people that I call them above the line. So they take ownership, accountability, and responsibility for everything they do. Where most people are blame, excuse, and denial, and they're below the line. And anyone that uses blame, excuse, denial, it's not my department, all of that tosh, they just need to get out. You want above the line people. So here's my 8 traits of greats. See if you agree with them. Number 1 is they start with the end in mind. You didn't say that. That to me is the number one.
Interesting.
Number 2 is passionate about their cause. You've obviously got that in abundance. But what's really interesting about you is you do start with the end in mind, and you didn't say it because you're building this to sell, aren't you?
Yeah, and I think that's what every entrepreneur does, right?
I don't believe they do, and that's why we state it. I think most people are, and this is one of my keynote phrases, most people are building a house without a set of architectural plans, and that's why most people don't get to where they want to get to. So no, I don't believe they do. Number 3 is untold amounts of resilience. You said that, and you have that resilience because you're passionate about the thing. You're obviously very passionate about this. Well, you've managed to raise the money, I believe. They master relationships with people, which I think you have in abundance. Number 5 is commercial awareness. Like good entrepreneurs, great entrepreneurs get numbers. They know P&Ls, they know margins, they know gross profit. You have that as well. As I'm going through it, you know why you're losing money.
Yeah, no,
and that's a big fundamental. Lots of high growth companies are on that J curve, and they know, like software is another great one. Lose money for years and years, Amazon, and then boom, off to that. Number 7 is they're master marketeers. All the best that I've come across is they're marketeers first and business owners second, and they know how to get to market. And number 8, they stay teachable and curious. What do you think of my 8?
Yeah, really like them. I think they're all really good. Just the end goal, I think, is an interesting one. I haven't really thought about that, but all the 7.
Well, it's not mine. It's actually a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Have you ever heard of that book?
I have. I think I've got it on my Audible account.
That's a study of highly effective people, and start with the end in mind is the number 1 rule. Can you give me a favourite quote that you live your life by?
Oof, that is tough. A favourite quote. Oh, goodness, I might have to pass on that one. I literally cannot think of anything. How poor is that? It might come back to me, but yeah, you've stumped me there. I need a bit of time to think about that sort of.
Or a couple. I'll tell you some of mine. One of mine is B times do equals have. So you got to work out what you want to have, then what you got to become, and what you got to do to have what you want to have. And my absolute favourite is you become the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with.
Yeah, that's 100% sure. I think I've sort of read about that a lot, and making sure you have that network of people who are achievers and not drainers, and I think that's super important.
What makes you admire someone?
Ooh, what do I admire? How do I? Yeah, that's a good question.
You see an individual and you think, cool, yeah.
I think someone who's quietly confident, someone who's humble, I think is something I really appreciate as well, and successful people. So I think it's success is amazing, but some people can be not humble about it, and I think it's really important to stay grounded when you're successful, because I think people are looking up to you and admiring you. So I think that's something I like to admire in people.
We asked you this, where do you work? And you said you work next to the Arsenal football stadium, so you're a man that works in the office. Do you invest in anything outside of your business? Do you like property or stocks and shares? Is there anything that crypto?
Yeah, I do. did a little bit of crypto. Some of it was all right, and some of it wasn't great. But I've got an ISA, so I invest in companies at the moment, quite heavily tech focused, with a lot of
Mm.
Microsoft and stuff like that, with artificial intelligence. So I put money
Well,
into a
my
lot
next
of those
question
funds.
is, how important is AI in the future of this?
Uh, I think it's going to make our business a lot more efficient, and I think that's super, super useful because gross margins are tight and people cost a lot of money. So I think we've given ChatGPT to everybody in the business now, and if AI doesn't make them 5%, 10% more efficient and better at their job, then they're probably the wrong people for the company. So I think it can really help you be a better person and a better employee. If you want to write an email to someone and you're not sure how to do it, it can tell you how to do that, or you might say, or rewrite it, make it more actionable. Or we've got this dispute with our warehouse, where it might be, can you put that in a way that is forceful but polite and stuff like that. So I think
Yeah,
it's a real skill there, and
I use it
communication
for
is
that.
so important. So
What how big is your payroll a month? Do you know what it costs you a month
I
for all
don't know
your
off the top
people?
of my head. I think I'd probably have to pass on that one, unfortunately. But it's something that has grown a lot in the last year with bringing on senior people. So we have to grow the business or become more efficient.
Um, who do you learn from?
People in similar businesses. So I've got a really good network of people I've met at trade shows who've got food and drink businesses. Love to go for coffees or beers with them to really understand what's going on. A lot of people will have the same issues, so it's really just talking to them and understanding how they've dealt with stuff which is cropping up. So I think that's the best way to people have done it before.
Mm. A good friend of mine I had on the show, Daniel Precy. Have you heard of Daniel Precy? He's an amazing entrepreneur, good brain, good philosopher of
Yeah.
entrepreneurship. And we were talking about rare and protected forms of leverage that gives businesses distinct advantages.
Yeah.
What would be, in your opinion, something that would give you an edge over your competitors if you had a little superpower? What would you give you a form of leverage? Would you?
If I could have a leverage that no one
Yeah.
else can have.
Yeah.
Oof.
So I give you some of ours because I think it's so talent. If we spoke about Taylor Swift actually, because I think it's Taylor Swift when she was growing up had the right environment because she's now a billionaire.
Yeah, no, my wife likes it, so I know a lot about her.
Yeah, she's like smashed it. But she grew up with a dad that was a venture capitalist and
Really?
worked for Merrill Lynch.
Yeah.
And he invested in the company that was the first record company that signed her.
Interesting.
So she had an environment, and she's obviously talented. So she had two forms of rare and protected forms of leverage that elevated her career over us
Yeah.
mere mortals.
I think everybody's got some sort of leverage. It's just trying to find it.
What would be yours?
I think I've got a nice family story, which I think helps, and
Yeah, I agree.
think that
That is-
definitely is a help. It can
Well,
be a
so-
hindrance at some stages, but it's generally been super useful for me. Just put more pressure on and a few more eyes on the business. But I think it's definitely something that I can
it's a
leverage, and I think everybody's got a leverage. It might be they've got a connection through family, or they might have had something happen in their childhood which wasn't good, but spurred them on to be more determined and stuff like that. So it's just trying to take stuff like that and make it a superpower. I think it's super important.
So one of the things that we put that under is recommendation and establishment, like because Cadbury's is an established brand.
Yeah.
That people had latched onto that. Really interesting. Who would you back if you had money to invest? Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos?
Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos? Oh, that's a good question. I would go with Elon Musk. I think
Why?
he's done it with so many different companies. I think Jeff's obviously done well with Amazon and very, very well, right? But I guess he's got the rockets as well now. But
Yeah.
I think Musk. I mean, he was behind PayPal originally, which he sold, and he's been involved in probably 10 different businesses, which have all been worth hundreds of millions, sort of thing. So I would be.
Do you know Jeff Bezos was one of the first 15 investors in Google?
No, I didn't know that.
And a lot of people didn't know that.
He's probably done quite a lot of that, hasn't he?
Apparently, for all the just amazing story, he owned like 1% of Google, and we're not sure if he still does own 1% of
Oh,
Google.
really? Crikey.
I think if you research into Jeff Bezos, I mean, everyone knows what Elon's done as well, and let's not take anything away from him, but I think.
I mean, they're probably the top two, aren't they, in the
Yeah,
world?
that's
So
why I
it's-
asked. That's why I don't. Who would you rather have lunch with, Richard Branson or Bill Gates?
I think it'd have to be Richard, wouldn't it? He's British.
Yeah.
He's comes across a bit more fun and interesting, and probably got some quite wild stories of Necker Island, I imagine, whereas Bill's probably
Yeah.
a bit more serious. But yeah, I don't really know the guy, and there's a lot of conspiracy theories about him as well, which I don't believe are correct. But it'd be quite interesting to ask him about those and sort of have his take on why people are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, Richard definitely.
What country is best? So looking at the UK, let's do the UK. Do you believe the UK is a great country to start a business in?
I think it's definitely one of the best in the world. I think US is very good as well, but I think UK in terms of Europe is a lot better. My wife is Spanish, and to set up a business, it's hundreds of pounds, if not thousands, just to register a business. Whereas in UK, I think it costs £10 if that's still the case, and you can do it with a couple of clicks, and you can have a business. Whereas in places in Europe, it is a lot trickier.
What about to grow it?
Yeah, I think in Europe it's probably one of the best, if not the best place as well, really. So,
What frustrates you about building a business?
what in the UK or?
Yeah, in the UK.
I
What
think
do
the
you
government probably could do a bit more for exports and stuff like that. As you said, you go to some trade shows and you see people have spent £1 million or whatever it is on a trade show stand. And then you know, reverse, we go to the Belgium and you can see all they've got the amazing stands, those little companies, and the government have put all the money into it and they've backed those people because they know they're going to export. So I think they could definitely help with exporting.
They do that in China as well.
Yeah.
They literally, if you export from China, they give the manufacturers, I think it's 2.5 or 3% of the export value as a tax rebate. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. Like, that's going to make people make stuff.
Yeah, I think since Brexit, that's obviously really tough for us as well with food and drink. Getting stuff in and out is becoming a bit of a nightmare.
If you think, you know, if you're a company in China and you export 10 million quid's worth of stuff and you're going to get 3% of that back, you're just going to employ more people. I get very frustrated that in the United Kingdom, where I think it's one of the most safest countries in the world, great legal system, brilliant banking system, trusted, all of 70 million people. And do you know, here's a little fact for you, you know, I like my little facts. So you've got 250 staff. How many companies in the UK do you believe employ more than 250 people?
Probably not. I have no idea. I'd complete guess. I'd go.
There's 70 million people live here.
Maybe 5,000 to 10,000.
7,500. That's an amazing guess. But what annoys me about that is that only 7,500 people control 70 million people.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, and of that 7,500, there's going to be companies like me that own 3 or 4 companies that employ lots of people. So I think you could whittle that 7,500 down probably to 3,500, 4,000 controlling entities. I don't think it's right. And I don't think we make it easier for growing businesses. What does your day look like? You get up, what's next?
I mean, every day can be different, but trying to build structure. Now we've got a senior management team, so it's sort of check in with them, not every day, but at least once a week sort of thing. So that's tone on a Monday. Monday is normally meetings, so making sure everything's, you know, we've got a plan for the rest of the week. And then other days it can literally be, you know, what's going to come up sort of thing. So it can be everything and anything, to be honest. We're at that stage. So yeah, Monday's probably the most structured day, where it's, you know, very structured with meetings and plans for the rest of the week, and the remaining can be very, very varied.
If you had a job title for your business, what would it be? In reality, not what it actually is.
Yeah, I was going to say it was going to be CEO, but it feels a bit weird when you say you're CEO when you're like a one-man band, which it was when I started. So I was like, yeah, I'm CEO, and the other person was the COO, who's the second person. But I guess it's just multitasker and, you know, a motivator, really try and drive on people. I think those are probably the
How much of your day is spent thinking about bringing in cash flow and sales?
Probably 20% of the day.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's you know, you can't focus on it every day. It's a long-term thing, right? So obviously the more cash we get in the business, it's great, but it's, it's part of the business, right? But it's a good question. I don't really know, to be honest. I'm always thinking about sales, but it's like, how much actual time am I putting into it? I've got a head of sales who, I trust, and he's a strategy, and he, is doing a good job at it. So it's let him do that and make sure that he's fulfilling that.
Let's look at Love Cocoa, both brands as one Love Cocoa here. Give me the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that you see for the brand.
Might do hip, just because it might be easier for the viewers. I'd say strengths would be, we haven't got the packaging here, unfortunately, but the packaging is really, really strong. It stands out on the shelf. So, you can spend a hell of a lot of money on marketing, but if your product doesn't look good,
Yeah.
then it's going to be bloody hard for people to pick it up. So I think we're really strong on that. We've got a really strong USP in terms of we're the first oat milk chocolate brand in the world, pretty much in terms of commercial respect. Then the weakness would be, what would the weakness be? I guess it's still quite a niche market. So it's, how many people want oat milk chocolate? So it's how we can expand that. But yeah, I think that would be something that we're very focused on that at the moment. That doesn't mean we're not doing that in the future, but it's, there's going to be a certain consumer who will want that product. So I guess that might fall into weakness. Then what's the next one?
Opportunities.
So again, moving outside oat chocolate. So that's one of the big things we're doing, is looking at dark chocolate, which is, has a better rate sale in the supermarket and stuff like that. So making sure that we're really, there is a lot of opportunities in chocolate, probably too much opportunities actually. So it's just focusing on a few.
It is highly competitive, isn't it, as a market?
Super, yeah. I mean, chocolate is, maybe with ice cream, they're probably the two most competitive markets in food and drink. People want to have a chocolate company, and it's very competitive, and it's dominated by, in terms of the premium end, it's a lot of heritage brands like Godiva have been around for donkey's years, and then in the supermarkets,
you heard of Cadbury's?
Yeah, I've heard of Cadbury's. 200 years they've been going. So yeah, it's trying to go up against those, and the last one was threats.
But saying all that, do you think that you can win market share? I mean, Mondelez, who own Cadbury's, have got money, haven't they? I mean, bucket loads of it.
We are winning market share, and that's when some of the big boys like Mondelez get in touch. I mean, we've spoken to them. They have incubators and whatever else, and I think we're probably on the radar of them and a few other companies. So it's, we want to build this as big as we can, but at some stage, having a partner like that is just going to make the business grow quicker, and having all their expertise in terms of people and distribution. So that makes sense as an excess.
How important? I mean, obviously we know people, but how important do you think rare forms of protected leverage? I would say distribution. Now knowing making ice cream, like when we're talking about selling to people, transport and distribution is where we start. Then we look at product. Do you agree with that? That distribution is.
I mean, in terms of where we're selling the products, I mean, it's you need to,
because they can just distribute everywhere in a marketplace overnight, can't they? If they wanted to buy you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think they, there's examples. They've bought a company in the US called Hue, and they're on the incubator program, and it's, suddenly they're on that, they exploded. And just having that expertise, I think a lot of it is their expertise in terms of manufacturing, supply chain. They'll be able to definitely get better, more competitive, pricing than us. And then it comes to distribution. They'll be able to plug you into their network. It's a bit like when Innocent got bought by Coca-Cola. It suddenly, Innocent is absolutely everywhere. It was pretty much everywhere anyway, but then suddenly it was
because they've got distribution, haven't they? Just
exactly.
Instant.
So I think that's why there's a lot of trade buys within food and drink, and that's where we'd want to go. I wouldn't want to be bought out by private equity, because sometimes they just want to make a quick buck and don't really care about the brand. Whereas I think the bigger people like Mondelez, Hershey's, Kellogg's, those sort of guys, Mars, they just bought Hotel Chocolat, for example. They're more interested in really, developing the brand, and they'll be better guardians, in my opinion. So that would make me more comfortable with a sale to them, rather than just a finance company who want to make a quick buck.
And what about your threats?
Threats, competition. So as I said, there's so much, companies out there who are doing similar things to us, and a lot more since we started it. Suddenly we had 4 competitors within 6 months because they could see us doing well. So people like that. Then the bigger companies, you are competing against them. So what if they bring out a similar product? those are the threats, and it's, you're a small fish in a big pond, and you got to navigate past the sharks because there are probably quite a lot of them out there, sort of thing. So I would say they're the biggest threats. The other threat would be just commodity prices. At the moment, cocoa's doubled in price, so
for
that's
sure.
going to have a huge impact on our business unless that comes down. We've locked in a contract for another 3 or 4 months, and then that comes to the end. And
What about currency volatility? That must be another. As you're buying in dollars, I guess.
yeah, currency has been been up and down, and it's definitely out there, and it's something we haven't protected at the moment. We haven't got like any forwards or anything like that. But it's probably something
You
you need
speak
to
to
look
people that were turning sterling into dollars from 10 years ago, where they were getting closer to $2 to the
Yeah.
pound compared to 125, roughly what we're at now. That's really hurt a lot of people's business models. So let's just quickly touch on Dragon's Den. Went on the show. What was that like? What was the feeling like of going on one of the UK's biggest TV shows?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Who was the Dragons as well?
Oh, who are the Dragons? That's a good question. So it's Peter, Deborah, Tej, and also a lady, I've forgotten her name. And Tuka was on there as well. The lady's name, I can't remember her name. I'm really sorry.
Not the one, not Sarah Davis, but this was
the one
years
before.
ago.
She was sort of redhead.
Yeah. Oh, the interior designer lady.
No, I think she was the one after. But
anyway, yeah.
I can't remember it.
So you go on. How much did you ask for?
So originally, I think we were going to ask 150,000 for 10%, but then the producer was like, just before, was like, can you ask for 75 for 20%? Sorry, for 5%. So they wanted the Dragons to have to ask for less money, because then I guess they could leverage it more. I don't know. And then
just trying to create entertainment.
Exactly. And I was like, halfway through my pitch, I was like, what am I asking for again? And sort of thing. I was like, goodness.
I would have said, well, if they say, why are you asking for that? I go, because the producer said you want to make the show more entertaining, so that's why I'm doing it.
They will edit that out. That's the problem. Boys, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they can be sneaky. I've got a friend who went on and they asked him about his sales figures, and he's a switched on guy, and there's no way he didn't know his sales figures. And it turns out that they kept on asking questions, and it's a question he didn't know, and then they edit it. So, I mean, you do sign something saying they can edit it. It's a TV program. It's an entertainment program. It's on Thursday night on BBC now, sort of thing. So it's a prime time thing. So, but no, it was an amazing experience to get back to your question. And you get up in Manchester filmed, and you're with another 6 entrepreneurs, and you can sort of speak to them in the sort of green room, as it were. And some people are quite switched on. Some people didn't know what gross margin was, so sort of trying to help them for their pitch. But no, it's something I would not normally do. I'm not the sort of person who loves public speaking, but I thought it was a great opportunity to really step out my comfort zone. And, if I didn't do that, then I'd be that, I'd probably regret it. So you live once, and I was like, give it a go and just pray that I don't mess it up.
So you went on, you said, right, I want to give you 10% of my business or 5% for 150 grand. Did you get an offer from one or more?
Yeah, so we got 2 offers. First one was from Tej, slightly different on the TV, but the first one was from Tej. He was quite quick with it, actually. So he offered, I think, 20% for 75 grand. And then Peter came in at the end. A few people pulled out because of the Cadbury link, and they're like, oh, you're going to get sued, and we don't want you to get sued, and it costs too much money. And I was like, well, I don't think they can sue me. I'm just using my name. Then Peter Jones sort of piped up at the end, is I'll back you, because there's a John Lewis called Peter Jones, and I don't know the ins and outs of it, but he was like, oh, they can't use your name, it's your name, a bit like I'm called Peter Jones. And that was really nice and sort of encouraging. And he made an offer as well. And those are the 2 I wanted before the show, but the equity definitely wasn't going to work. So
did you pull out, or did they pull out?
So I went to the wall twice, and I came back not knowing what I was going to say or do, and I was stood there for about 30 seconds, like, I have no idea. And I was like, you know what, I'll do a deal, because to be honest, you talk about what they're going to add. So I was like, well, if you want 20%, well, I negotiated down to 15%, I think, in the end, minus some sort of buyback clause. But they say, oh, we're going to help you with this, that, and that, and that. So I was like, well, if that's the case, maybe it's worth it, sort of thing. So we sort of shook on a deal, but there's no legal anything. It's literally a TV program. And then after, I was like, we met up, and I was like, well,
you met up with Peter Jones.
We went with Tej in the end, and went to his office in Vita Biotics, his company. And I'm like, well, what are you actually going to be able to do? How much advice are you going to give me? Can I come meet your team and stuff like that? And he wanted to help and he wanted probably do stuff, but I just think he's a CEO of Vita Biotics. I was just like, he's running a 100 million, 300 million, I have no idea. I think it's a pretty big company. How much time is he actually going to be able to spend with me? And he was like, oh, I can meet you maybe once a month on a Sunday. And I was like, well, Sunday I'm sort of busy actually. So I was like, it's just not going to work for me, and the amount of equity I need to give you, it's just not going to work. And 75 grand is not really going to do much for the business. I mean, you can spend that with Sainsbury's or whoever it might be in a couple of weeks with some promos. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to go on my own, keep going on my own, and you know, funding it with what I had. And we didn't get funding after that. Then we raised 4.25 million for,
which is a much better amount.
For, you know, slightly more equity, but you know, it was something it's life changing, not life changing, but business changing money, I guess. So, but yeah, great experience and loved it. And so walking through the doors was so surreal. You sort of, and I literally forgot my pitch before.
Did you?
I was so good in every single one. I was practicing. Then last time I was like, can I practice it one more time to the runner, the person who's looking after me? And my mind went blank. I didn't have a name. I didn't have my company's name. I was like,
didn't know your name.
No. And I was in this blooming lift. The lift doesn't go up or down. I pressed the wrong button. And they're like, oh, you need to film it again. I was like, oh God, just can I? And I was in this lift and I was like, my mom said, do not do this program. And then the door suddenly opened. You're in there for about 10 minutes. All the dragons are getting the makeup done. Peter and all Tej and all the guys. And then the doors open, and they've been there for 12 hours as well, to be fair. I got there at 6 a.m. They got there at 9 a.m. And it was 6 p.m. by the time I got on. I had way too much coffee. I had jitters. I was like, but luckily they all smiled, and that's my biggest thing in business now. If there's anybody in an interview or comes into the business, and I try to make sure that I make them feel comfortable and smile, because I think if they didn't smile and looked angry, it could have been it could have been a disaster.
So they were nice people.
Yeah, they're super nice. I mean, there was a few tough questions, and I think Tuka was probably the toughest on the TV. Then after, I think he's the only one who acknowledged me. So for me, he was the nicest. Good stuff.
I've got one last question for you. What do you want your legacy to be?
Ooh, legacy. I think, you know, having two amazing brands which are stand on their own 2 feet. So they're profitable. They bring people moments of happiness. So, you know, we're a chocolate company in the day. We're not, you know, we are there to give that 5 minutes of happiness, I guess. We're not a medical company saving people's life. It's more, you know, we want to make sure that people enjoy our product and share it with friends and family, really. So, yeah.
Well, Mr. Cadbury, thank you very much for being on the show. Go and check out Love Cocoa. I'm James Sinclair. See you in the next one.